She stands before you in the history books, wearing a crown of skulls. A poisoner, a blood drinker, a woman who seduced her own father, a queen who bathed in the blood of 650 virgins. Every one of these women was real. Some of the crimes were real too, but the monster? The monster was built by men who feared what these women actually were. 8 women, ranked by the distance between who they truly were and what history made them. Number 8. Lucrezia Borgia. The name alone conjures poison rings and incest. In 1497, her first husband declared that Pope Alexander VI was sleeping with his own daughter. Here is what he left out. The Pope had just annulled their marriage on the grounds that Giovanni Sforza couldn't consummate it. The accusation came in the wake of the humiliation. By the 19th century, Hugo and Donizetti had immortalized her as a poisoner, complete with her legendary cantarella. The real Lucrezia governed Ferrara while her husband was at war, ran a major land reclamation project, and held a brilliant court. The poet Ariosto celebrated her in Orlando Furioso. The one undeniable Borgia murder, the strangling of her second husband, was ordered by her brother Cesare, not Lucrezia. She was the instrument. History assigned her the crime. Number 7. Mary I of England. Between 1555 and 1558, she burned roughly 280 Protestants for heresy. The name Bloody Mary is real. The responsibility is real. But the brand was manufactured by John Fox's Book of Martyrs, which a generation of English readers absorbed like scripture. Her father, Henry VIII, executed tens of thousands across his reign. His name? Not Bloody. The epithet stuck to the Catholic woman. It slid off the Protestant men who killed as many or more. That isn't history. That's propaganda. And it worked for 5 centuries. Number 6. Valeria Messalina. In 48 AD, while Emperor Claudius was away at Ostia, his empress held a public wedding, yellow veil, witnesses, the full Roman rite, to the senator Gaius Silius. Both were arrested. Both were executed. The ancient sources used that moment to destroy her. Pliny claims she won a 24-hour sex contest against a prostitute. Juvenal put her in a blonde wig, working a brothel. They wrote decades, even centuries after her death. No contemporary source corroborates any of it. What modern historians see in that bizarre wedding is not madness. They see a coup, Messalina maneuvering to put Silius on the throne and remove Claudius. Not a wanton in a brothel, a woman reaching for the empire itself. So her enemies wrote about her body instead. It was simpler, and it stuck. Number 5. Elizabethbathory. The charges: 650 young women tortured and murdered. The Countess of Hungary bathing in their blood to stay young. That story appears in no document from the year of her arrest. It surfaces in print for the first time in 1729, more than a century after her death, in a Jesuit priest's history. When the actual witness statements were published in 1817, they held no bloodbaths at all. What they did hold: brutal testimony of torture and a real death toll, estimated between 175 and 300. And this, King Matthias II, who ordered the investigation, openly noted that if Báthory were executed, her estates, strategic fortresses, would pass to the crown, and his large debts to her family would vanish. The vampire was sewn onto a real case, for real estate. Number 4. Ranavalona I of Madagascar. She turned the tangina poison ordeal into an instrument of rule, a nut toxin forced on the accused, killing a fifth to a half of those who swallowed it. Missionaries fled and reported home. A female Caligula ruled Madagascar. What they did not report: Ranavalona had annulled the British treaty, used a shipwrecked French engineer to build domestic cannon factories, and was, at the height of the European scramble for Africa, among the very few African rulers holding both Britain and France at bay for 33 years. Historian Gwyn Campbell reads her policies as calculated anti-colonial strategy. The suffering was real. The population fell sharply under her reign, But the mad monarch label served a purpose. An irrational ruler needed civilizing. A ruler making cold calculations to repel an empire was a different problem, one that required a different story. Number 3. Catherinedemedici. St. Bartholomew's Day, 1572. Within days, thousands of Huguenots lie dead in Paris, and within weeks, the killing has spread across France. At the center of it, Catherinedemedici, who had governed France in all but name for more than a decade. Her complicity in the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre is documented. Her own letters show ruthlessness. This is not myth. The myth is the poisoner, the Italian sorceress with her flying squadron of seductress spies who could kill with a perfumed glove. She was never formally accused of poisoning, never tried for witchcraft. Historian R.J. Knecht describes a mother improvising desperate, brutal measures to keep her sons on the throne. The sorcerer story was more satisfying, and it erased the real offense. A foreign-born woman had ruled France in all but name for nearly 30 years. Number 2. Agrippina the Younger, 50 A.D. A woman's face appears on Rome's imperial coinage. Agrippina sits beside Claudius receiving foreign ambassadors. She has installed her own man as commander of the Praetorian Guard. No Roman woman has ever stood here before. The ancient sources, Tacitus, Suetonius, Cassius Dio, writing generations after her death, made her an incestuous, husband-poisoning schemer who lusted after her own son. The classicist Judith Ginsburg calls that portrait largely a literary construct, shaped to make unprecedented female power feel monstrous by definition. And the documented reversal. In 59 AD, it was Nero who tried to murder her. He sent her out on a boat rigged to sink. She swam ashore. He sent assassins. When they reached her, she tore open her gown and told them, "Strike the womb that bore him." The monster of the history books didn't die like that. The real woman did. Number 1. Wuzetian, 690 AD. A woman in her 60s stands before the court of China and declares herself emperor. Not empress, not regent, emperor, Huangdi, the title held by every ruler across 3,000 years of Chinese history. Every one of them male. She is the first. She will be the last. She built a secret police, copper denunciation boxes, and paid informers. In one purge in the 690s, 36 senior officials were executed or driven to suicide, 1,000 of their relatives enslaved. She championed Buddhism to build a theological justification for female rule, because Confucianism offered none. She ran the empire for half a century. The Confucian historians who recorded her reign described every one of her executions in lurid, damning detail. They did not use that language for male emperors who killed far more. Her own father-in-law, Emperor Taizong, killed his brothers with his hands and forced his father's abdication, and escaped the vilification that buried Wu. The most damning charge against Wu, that she smothered her own newborn daughter to frame a rival empress, appears in no contemporary denunciation of her, not even the most fearless. It surfaces only in later chronicles. Historian R.W.L. Guisso and others treat it as a later invention, stitched to an earlier villain to make Wu feel familiar, inevitable, damnable. She was as ruthless as any emperor who ever ruled China. The monster was authored by the men whose entire world her existence threatened. She ruled for 50 years. She is still the only one.